What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very exciting video for you. We are officially starting the process of swapping my 350Z drift car. Now, since I bought this car in 2019, I have always planned on swapping it eventually. Seat time originally was a very big point for me that I wanted to do and gain, and now with Heartland Motorsports Park in Topeka closing, there really isn't any local drift events local to me in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I decided I'm going to take this time and swap my car. Originally, when I bought the car, I always thought, oh, I'm going to do a 1JZ VVTi swap. Single turbo, 2.5 liter, make all the best sounds in the world. And I actually, when I decided on my engine, I went to go potentially purchase one that was in Kansas. And it had cracked valve covers, and the compression was really iffy on it. We compression tested it with the battery and it was just sitting on a tire, but still. So I passed on that engine and I went the other logical route. If you're not gonna do JZ, there's typically one other route you do. And we are LS swapping the 350Z, boys and girls. This is an L92. So it's a 6.2 liter aluminum block V8 out of a 2007 Escalade. It's the same block casting as the LS3s. The heads are 821, or no, these are 823 heads. If it'll focus. So they are rec port heads. This is one of the best flowing heads that Chevy ever produced for the LS platform, other than like the LS7 heads, but those are unobtainium, you know. So 6.2 liter aluminum block. It is VVT, or it does have VVT right now. Once we delete that, it will essentially be an LS3 with 0.2 less compression than crate LS3. So I am very excited. I've been saving for a long time for all the parts, so this is our slew of parts that we will be installing today. We've got new front timing cover, rear block cover, brand new 3-bolt cam, the cam bolts, new lower timing sprocket, cam retainer plate, a Melling 10295 oil pump. This is high pressure standard volume. With drifting, the high pressure high volumes will suck your pan dry, and we don't want that. I have a Sac City oil barbell. This essentially, there's a plastic barbell in the engines, and it lets a lot of unfiltered oil past the engine, or past the filter, straight into your engine. And this oil barbell filters it down to, I think they say 5 micron, which is crazy better. Like, it's so much better. And that was only a $40 part. So that's cheap insurance that I'm getting the best oil I possibly can to all my bearings and all the essential stuff. We have a ISR Performance 350Z swap oil pan. Texas Speed Stage 2 NALS3 cam. We've got their Texas Speed 660 dual valve spring and retainer kit, Texas Speed hardened push rods, a CHE trunnion upgrade, and I just want to give a shout out to CHE because their product presentation is just absolutely incredible. That looks so beautiful. These are just little plugs for the oil pan. We have a new windage tray to go along with the oil pan that we will have to clearance for our pickup tube right there. Got brand new 5-layer multi-layer steel head gaskets. I am just doing head bolts on this. This thing isn't going to see crazy power, so factory style head bolts will work just fine. I got a brand new thing assembly lube. Got new head dowels, new rocker trays. Anytime basically you're doing a cam, or even honestly anytime you take the heads off, these are so cheap. I think they're like $10 or $12 a piece. Always replace those, because if your lifter spins, that's not good for anybody. And then probably one of my favorite parts of the entire engine assembly is these Johnson 2110R race lifters. They aren't link bar. I have them soaking in oil. But they don't have a lift bar. They offer that option, but I opted for the ones that use the trays just to keep it a little bit more simple. But these are the same lifters that Chevrolet used in their Copo Camaro, and they did so much testing on these lifters. And I only plan to rev this thing to like 7,000, but it's going to be a hard 7,000. It's probably going to see limiter a lot. So I really didn't want to risk, like I spent all the money on everything else. I didn't want to risk having an LS7 style lifter fail on me. So saved up, got the Johnson 2110Rs, and I am ecstatic. I think this is going to be a hell of an engine, and I'm very excited to get started. I got my rockers for the most part stripped, so they're all stripped out, no trunnion, factory trunnions in them. Got my rocker stands, and then my heads are mostly cleaned. They got a little bit of grunge, but let's see if it'll focus. Got a little bit of grunge here and there, but honestly, my block doesn't look perfect either. I cleaned it the best I could just with stuff around the garage, but I think it's gonna look really good all together. And it's not a crate engine, so it doesn't need to look like a crate engine. I didn't want to spray paint anything. It's fine. I had my heads just cleaned up really quick, basically just machined for flatness. I had these done by a guy in Omaha, Nebraska, Dave Blassie. I will put his business name in the video, like right here, if I can figure it out. But he did a great job. Super nice guy. Moved from Cali to Omaha, and he's starting up his own machine shop. He's been doing head machining, importing in Cali for the past 12 years, I believe he said. So he knew his stuff. He just trying to find his market here in Lincoln. So he machined the heads for flatness. We got every single valve lapped. We pressure tested it, and then we cleaned them, and they are good to go. I wish, if I can figure out how to add a picture over this video right now, I will add a picture of what they looked like before they went to Dave, and it is insane. I wasn't even sure if these were the same heads I was picking up that I dropped off, because it's just night and day. Front cover will come off. Junk. Alright, next let's get our oil pump off. We do have that new Melling 10295 high pressure standard volume that we're going to replace here, so we don't need this either. Alright, so now that the front cover's off, I'm going to flip the engine over. I'm going to lay down some pig mat because it's probably going to make a mess. And then reposition the engine so it doesn't splash like crazy. Cool. Alright, let's keep zipping off those oil pan bolts. There we go. Alright, so truck pan is off. Alright, so now we're going to pull all these windage tray nuts off. They're 13mm nuts. Check this out. They have 2-threaded holes, but they only use 1 bolt to tighten it. So with the melling I have in my new pickup tube, we'll use a 2-bolt system, and then I have a pickup tube brace that'll wrap around here and ensure this never flops out, because if this bolt gets loose and this starts to come out, you're losing oil pressure right there, and nobody wants that, because then your engine gets hurt or blows up. So we'll pull this out. Okay, and pickup tube should come off. Nice. Windage tray will come off. Nice. And we can take our oil pump off. Jump. Alright, so now we're going to pull out all the factory lifters that are in here. Alright, so now we'll start taking the front cover off here. Or not the front cover, but all the front timing stuff. I guess we'll just start with This is my first time taking part of the LS, if you can't tell. We'll get the cam gear off. I think that's a good start. So pull this off. Okay. Okay, cams. We have a new timing chain, new cam gear, so we don't need any of that. Now we can take the tensioner off. Okay, I've got new bolts for our new LS2 style tensioner, so we don't need that tensioner either. I'm glad to see mine isn't broken though, because a lot of them on these L92s, that chain tensioner is broke and it's just sitting in pieces, and once you pull it off, it all just falls apart. So now we're going to take these 4 camshaft retainer plate bolts out. Again, if you ever do a cam, this is always something you have to replace. It's like $30 for a new plate and these bolts, but I'll show you when I get it off that if you were to reuse this and not just get a new one, this holds your oil pressure from one side of the engine to the other. And this gasket is always flattened. I mean, you can't even feel it. So for 35 bucks, your oil pressure is so important, and that's always something you should replace if you're doing a cam, or if you ever are this deep into your motor. So now we're going to start pulling the cam out. Alright, So we're about to put our Texas Speed Stage 3 or Stage 2 NA LS3 cam in. Here's the specs on it. So I'm going to put some Lucas Oil Assembly Lube on first. And since this engine won't be running for a while, I'm going to do plenty. Right, in we go. First one. There we go. Last one. We are in. So now we're going to do our brand new Chevrolet Performance cam retainer plate. So we'll just set it on here. Get these bolts started by hand. So we're going to torque these down to 18 foot-pounds. Very nice. Cam retainer plate installed. Now we're going to put our new timing chain and new camshaft gear on. And hopefully we get it first try if we're lucky. It looks about dead center to me. Now we're put in our 3 ARP camshaft bolts. Just finger tight for now. We'll rotate over one whole rotation until cylinder 1 is back at TDC. And if we did it right, beautiful. She is in time. Boy, that's easy. Now we're gonna do our LS2 style timing chain dampener. Very nice. All right, so now we can move on to our oil pump. There it is. And we'll rotate it to match. There we go. Very nice. I'm switching over to the heads now. Since I got a machine, they're all stripped. So I need to assemble them. My valves were lapped. Since this engine, again, isn't going to run for a while, I'm going to add a little bit of assembly lube. You can never use too much of this stuff. I'm going to add a little bit on the shaft here, and then I'm going to spin them into the valve guide. So now that I got those in, I'm going to just tuck a rag under this combustion chamber, and I'll flip the head down. So I'm going to take my 2 valve seats and guides. These are made by Pack. They're a pretty trick thing because it's all one unit, where before the flat piece will be its own valve seat that you press down, and then the valve guides will go on top, but this is all one piece. Super, super nice. I'm going to do a dab on each valve head. That a little dab in there. We'll press them down on the valves. Just go pop them out. Very nice. Again, these are Texas Speeds dual valve spring and retainer kit. They're good for 660 lift, which is quite a bit above what my stage 2 LS3 cam is rated for. So I'm just gonna center this tool between the two valve springs. Grab my 13mm wrench. You do not use power tools on this nut. Hand tool only. I'm gonna grab my valve keepers. I'm mostly using assembly lube here just because it's sticky and it just kind of holds these in place is all. Okay, so that one sits into the valve nicely. Do one more. Since this is kind of a tedious process, I'm probably only just going to film this one time, just so you guys get the idea on how it's actually done. Voila! All the valve springs are installed. Man, this is a pretty cool part to me. Not gonna lie. Because if you got these, it means you got a decent cam in your motor, or engine, excuse me. So that's pretty exciting. We are gonna get the heads on now. So I'm gonna clean the surfaces of both the block and the heads, and then I'll probably pop in the dowel pins off camera as well, and then I will be right back with you, and we will get the head gaskets on and then start dropping in head bolts and start torquing them down. This is a pretty, oh, and lifters, my freaking Johnson lifters that I'm so stoked about. Yeah, we'll get those in and then drop in head bolts and get these heads torqued on. We're gonna drop our Johnson 2110R lifters in the engine. I've got brand new trays. Again, I touched on this right at the start of the video, but anytime you're doing a cam, buy new trays. They're like $10 or $12 a piece, and it's cheap insurance, because if this lifter spins in the engine, that's a bad day. So this side is already done for the lifters, but I'm just going to start going ahead and doing the same thing. Just popping these lifters into the trays. I'm just going to put the Johnson logo facing up because it looks cooler. So I'm popping all of these in like so. And these ones are even more slippery. I gotta be really careful not to drop them, because that would not be good. And then get oil around all of them. Very nice. And we will insert them into the block. And just, you gotta kind of finesse them a little bit. I'll just give them a little wiggle. And then all of a sudden they seat right down. Beautiful. There we go. Alright, bolts, 100 inch-pounds. I'll clean the surfaces, and when you see us next, we will be slapping the heads on. We have the block surface clean of any debris. We have all the thread holes clean of any debris. We have cleaned the head surfaces. We have prepped the block surface and the head surface with like a metal prep cloth. These are 5-layer multi-layer steel. All sorts of different layers in there. Just line it up. Okay. Very nice. And then I will grab the driver's side head first. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to put this bolt in just a little bit so the head doesn't fall off. Okay, that head's on. Let's grab the other head gasket. Come around to the other side. Put it on. Very nice. Let's see if I can get this one landed on there a little bit easier than the first one, because that was kind of embarrassing. Go. Very nice. So the head doesn't fall off, and now I'm going to grab all my head bolts and we'll just start plopping them all in. I got our head bolts here. Let's start dropping them in. We'll start with the big ones. So I got all the head bolts, all the big head bolts, torqued to 22 foot-pounds. That's the first pass. Second pass is going to be 90 degrees. So this is just going to be time lapse to make it quick for the video, because I'm sure it's going to be a longer video as it is. First pass is done. Now we're going to do a second pass over all of them again at 70 degrees. Now we will torque down these 10 smaller bolts on top, and they just get torqued down to 22 foot-pounds. And the heads are bolted on. So now we are on to the trunnion upgrade. So we are going to take these factory dirty rocker arms. We're going to press out the factory bushings, and then I will get them soaking in cleaner, and then we will install our brass trunnion upgrade from CHE Precision. Okay, so now we're going to press out the factory bushings. I have a 22mm on this side and then a 14 here, and you just line it up on the bushing, and then you get it in between the jack, or not the jack, the vise. Line everything up. Okay, and if you watch in here, you'll slowly see that bushing start to move. And then just keep your hand under it so bearings don't go everywhere. A little bit more pressure. Perfect. And the reason we do this trunnion upgrade, let me get this bushing out of there. So the reason we do this trunnion upgrade is because all of these little needle bearings, these bushings are only press fit, so at high vibrations with high RPM, this bushing will rattle out of the rocker arm, and there's always a risk for these little bearings to be floating around your valve train. And this is only one side of one rocker arm. There's 32 sides, so picture this amount times 32. That's really not a good thing to potentially have floating around your engine, and that's why we do the brass trunnion upgrade. Okay, so now that we have our rocker arms stripped of their factory needle bearing selves, I'm going to take one of the clean ones that I have here, and then I'll get these soaking in some cleaner. So I'll take one of the new rocker arms and we're going to start on the CHE upgrade. So first you get the trunnion shaft, or I guess I don't know what you would call it. Soak it in a little bit of oil. Get your brass trunnion. Soak it in a little bit of oil. And you just pop it on. Okay, like so. Face it up. And then a very important part on this that a lot of people miss if they don't read directions, like me. But luckily I read these ones. There's a sharp edge and a more smoother edge on the snap ring. Make sure the sharp edge is facing away from the trunnion bushing. Then you get your snap ring in. And you just very carefully pop it on, and then again with the oil. Nice, and then we'll flip it, do the other side. Okay, and then now we're going to do the same bushing. Slide the rocker arm over the trunnion axle and current bushing. Slide the new one on, give it a couple spins. Okay. Now that it's in there, just gonna take our snap ring again, sharp edge out, and pop it on. And just like that, you have a beautiful, if it'll focus, you have a beautiful brass CHE precision trunnion upgrade. I'm gonna get these in cleaner, and then I will start on the rest of these, but I think here we're gonna do some YouTube snap magic. So 1, 2, and just like that, we have all the trunnion upgrades installed. They look freaking fantastic. Alright, so we're gonna do a nice hefty glob on each side of each push rod. And just send them on packing. Alright, now we're going to grab our rocker tray as a whole. I've never done it this way before, so hopefully I can get it lined up first try. Alright guys, so it's been a couple days, car's no longer behind me, it's out driving. So in the last clip we got the rockers and the rocker stands installed on the engine. I just used a push rod tool off camera to measure my lifter preload. Since I use the Johnson 2110R lifters, they require a different preload than factory LS7 style push rods. Plus, since my heads were resurfaced, I just wanted to make sure everything was spot on, so we don't have any problems and I don't have to buy another set of those lifters, hopefully, because they were expensive. But yeah, so I measured that. I also got my throttle body on the engine, just set the intake on there. We won't be using the stock fuel rails. We're gonna have a full Deechworks fuel system on this car, but this is where we stand currently. I also got the oil pan on off camera. I got a certain part I needed and just went crazy and did not film any of it. It's pretty straightforward. I did trim the windage tray to clear the oil pickup. If I remember, I will post in a picture of Injuku Racing's video of how they trim their windage tray, because it was a really good picture and that's what I went off of. But other than that, oil pan, gasket, it's very straightforward. And the front cover, same thing. But all that kind of got assembled off camera. One, because I was excited, but two, because their LSs are really weird. You have to have the oil pan on before you can torque the front and rear cover, because the pan is the lower mating surface to the front and rear cover. So it kind of all just worked as one, and you can't torque the front cover on until you have the crank pulley on. So it was just, yeah, I really regret filming, but for the most part it was just me zipping in more bolts and torquing them, so no big deal. But that will conclude the engine build process. Now I'm just acquiring accessories. I got this beautiful 92mm sniper throttle body the other day. My water pump is coming soon. I'm gonna get my power steering bracket soon, and then pump will follow. Already have my alternator. But yeah, boys, we are dialed. I have basically this entire build planned out, which parts I'm gonna run. It's just a matter of paying for them. Just being one dude, the progress on this build and the videos that go along with it are gonna be super slow. And algorithm and YouTube wise, they're not gonna do good at all. Just because it's just one person paying for it. But this is a build I've wanted to do since the day I bought my Z. And I would be absolutely crazy not to document it all, to look back on years from now when I realize how crazy and stupid this is, to dump all this freaking money into this car just to hear some V8 chop. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys would like the whole build plan, build list, like what my plans are for which parts I'm gonna run, etc., drop it down in the comments and I'd be happy to make that video. And if you don't want to see that, don't comment about that, that's fine. But let me know what you think of the engine so far. Thank you for, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you again for watching this video. It means a lot. If you're new, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Again, content will be kind of slow, but while content will be slow, I'm really hoping the quality will be up to par for my standards and hopefully for yours as well. And maybe you'll learn a thing or two. So that's all I got for tonight. So I guess we'll just leave it there. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and goodbye.